Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, I want us to discuss about the supreme direction, the events of the past 1 week or even 2 weeks. And at this point, I want to make an apology to Dr. Stanley Karanja, who vied for the Nakuru gubernatorial seat as an independent candidate and not Lawrence Karanja, as I had mentioned. Polisana for that, sir. But welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
And well, on his left is Gloria Orwoba, who's a youth policy analyst and as well as a Senate nominee. Karibu sana to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want us to talk about the supreme direction. Today, the Kenya Kwanza, the Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance has alluded to the fact that they might be pursuing both legal and political means to pursue justice. By political means, I'm sure they are counting on their numbers in the National Assembly. We all know where that might lead if the members of parliament in that particular house might be asked to do the necessary and ensure that they overturn that win. But I want to hear from you, Dr. Stanley Karanja. What are the options that the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance have right now?
Well, it's still early, and you see there is so many. They need first of all to get the right facts about why they're rejecting the announcement.
Yes.
That there's a president-elect. Because if you hear the Azimio leader said, then there was nobody who was, but by constitutionally, the chairman of the IBC already had declared who's the winner of the election. So these others are aftermath, and the constitution provides the 7 days whereby they now need to go and put their case forward. So what type of the case that, and what the data and the facts that they have, that shall be now determine the direction, and also the discussions within the High Court, within the Supreme Court. So it is still early. Will they get the enough material that will justify the change of the nullification of the election? So if it won't, then it will stay. The president-elect, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, will remain. So it is still early now to exactly say what will happen. It depends with the legal team. What will they be able to get and be able to put the facts forward, and then they be able to put a good case forward. If they find, the lawyers find it doesn't meet the threshold of going forward, they still have 7 days. So as I will appeal to all Kenyans not to jump and start making conclusions. It is still good time. We have 6 more days still. They need to check and be able to find out what they need to, will they get material fact to be able to challenge the nullification of the election, or what they will choose. Is it recounting? There are various options they can be able to have. But for Kenyans, I think we need to go back to work, continue working, know the process where it is, unless it is challenged. Otherwise, then tuko kazi. Tufanye kazi kama wa Kenya, tuendele waliopita. Let's congratulate them and congratulate. I take this opportunity also to congratulate the president-elect.
Oh, president-elect.
You have asked about the question of the president, not of the governor. So you ask the question of the president, I give president-elect. Dr. William Samoei Ruto, into brackets, PhD. You know, he's my colleague. You know, PhD, there's a way we talk.
Yep. You voted for the Nakuru gubernatorial race in a race that the current Senator Susan Kihika won. Do you think the process was above board, according to you?
Well, good question. According to me or according to IBC?
According to you.
According to me.
As one of the major players in that race.
As one of the major players, I can say there is, in the entire process, when you look at it, there is the process that it was open to all of us as a voter. What was my role as a governor candidate is to be able to make sure, and as a voter, there's the role as a governor candidate and the role as a voter. As a voter, there was nothing wrong, because I voted, put your fingerprint, the KIMS kit, they take your ID, they verify, they get your ballots, you go and do the necessary. And then you are advised as a voter, go back home and wait for the results. As a governor, The role there, you have your coordinators, you need to have agents, then you wait for the results. So you get the results. You see the way the results have come out. There are areas that you can question.
Okay.
There are areas that you can question, but to what extent, again, and to what level, and what margin of error are you putting it into place? So, and one thing, I personally, as Dr. Stanley Karanja, I will live in this country and in my life to trust institutions that they need to do their job.
Okay.
If IBC is supposed to do its job, let us give it an opportunity to do its job to the letter. We even don't need to invest as politicians or leaders when we are engaging in this political, candidacy. We need to trust the institution. And that's where I believed in the process. Though right now, after all these things are happening, you hear people saying, was it right, was it wrong? But again, for me, I'm a guy who moves on. So ask Dr. Stanley Karanja, I'll congratulate Governor Susan Kehika. It was time, it is politics, it has so many things. We have Kenyans, we have our culture, we have our fabric. What can we improve in the next processes? That's what my take. Okay. And I will congratulate her and say, Governor Madam Susan Wakarura Kehika, congratulations. Okay. It was your time. Ceteris paribus. Okay. If you entered the economics class, ceteris paribus.
Okay, thank you. Gloria, Supreme Court petitions like the one that a lot of Kenyans are expecting from the Azimio One Kenya Alliance, of course, contribute a lot to our jurisprudence. In this particular one, if they go to court, what do you think is going to improve?
First of all, a disclaimer, I do not have the legal expertise to give legal advice. Okay. But as a layman and a Kenyan who has actually actively participated in this election, I would say that the reason why Azimio have not come out clear whether or not they are going to petition or use other means to challenge, is because, this time round, there were a lot of processes that were meticulously followed by all actors, by IEBC, by political parties, by the candidates themselves. It wasn't, because of the fact that we had a precedence from the last annulment of a presidential election, IEBC was also very careful to ensure that they don't put themselves in a similar situation as 2017. So, for instance, if you look at how they conducted, before even the tallying, when they were talking about organizing agents and things like that, all the candidates this time were told that you could have representation in all the polling stations as a candidate. Prior to that, it was that every political party was allowed to have only one agent in every polling station, meaning that the gubernatorial candidate for that political party, the MP, the senator, the women rep, and the member of county assembly would be represented by one person. And because of how the exercise is tiresome, sometimes that's where the loopholes were. So this time, as a matter of fact, my political party, UDA, wrote directly to IEBC and said, we are not going to field, agents, political party agents. Instead, we are going to allow all the candidates to ensure that they guard their votes by, technically hiring their own polling station agents. That means that I could have been the candidate for UDA, for Member of Parliament. You could have been the candidate for Senate. But the two of us were not going to share a polling station agent. Everyone was allowed to go out and look for the people they trust and have a mechanism by which they organize their polling station agents and have all those agents in there. So, and I want to start from the part of agents because that is where Azimio went wrong. There was an assumption that because we have a partnership with the current government that, when we reach there, we'll organize. So they never really thought through the agent system. And to be honest, this time around, because of the Kim's kit, because of all the loopholes that have been sealed in terms of how, a Kenyan gets to the polling station before I'm even allowed to vote, the Kim's kit has to clear me through my biometrics and stuff. And after I'm cleared, then I move to the next clerk and then the next one who gives me the papers and then, to the box. And, all that whole process was ensuring that at any one point, first of all, we're not going to have ghost voters. We are not going to have dead voters. We are not going to have ballot stuffing, because in order for you to stuff the ballots, first of all, you could stuff the ballots all you wanted, but as long as the Kim's kit did not, capture that voter, then that in itself, the fact that that was not, so it was difficult for any candidate to think that last minute I'll just stuff ballots, or to think that last minute I'm just going to import voters from one place to another, because they also had to be registered in particular polling stations. So when I talk about the agents, I'll tell you, Azimio put up a good fight, and they put up a real, worthy competitors.
Yes.
They dropped the ball on the agents, because I can tell you, UDA as a party, literally, I would say 3 weeks to the election, was organizing the agent system for the presidential candidate. Remember, the governors were having their agents, the MPs were having their agents, but UDA as a party actually worked out a mechanism of how our presidential candidate, how his votes were going to be guarded. And that's the reason why you had the party leader, William Ruto, always say, mimi ndio wataniibia kura. Not because he was bragging, because he understood the amount of resources, the amount of strategy. We had agents in all of Nyanza, which is literally a hostile zone. We had agents down to Bondo, a polling station where Baba comes from. We had an agent representing us who was able to make sure that nobody was trying to inflate the voter turnout and things like that. That's how serious we took the agent system. Then when you move forward, you go to the case that they are trying to present now, which is literally saying that, stop the count. We don't agree with the count. For you not to agree with the count, you also have to say that the Form 34As are actually not correct. But for you to say the Form 34As that are in the system are not correct, you must have had an agent in every polling station for them to bring for you the carbon copy of the Form 34A. Na hapo ndio Azimio wako na kizungumkuti, because I cannot say what IEBC has uploaded as Form 34A is fake when I cannot produce the carbon copy of the true, form. So then you find yourself, you're trying to file a case, but you actually are struggling with the evidence. The Form 34As, there was 5 copies. There's the original copy, which was signed, and all the polling station agents were taking a picture. And after that, 4 carbon copies were given to each presidential, each agent of the presidential candidate. So by the time all 4 are saying that is fake, it is because they're holding on to the carbon copy. Now you'll realize that Azimio have been very careful around their utterances on the Form 34A, because they don't have the Form 34As. They never took it seriously.
There's some that are on the portal, on the public.
The ones on the public portal.
Just hold on. There's some that have some problems, and they're saying that once they file this case in court, some glaring inconsistencies are going to come.
Well, then we are waiting to see, because as far as I'm concerned, and when I speak authoritatively, particularly for the Nyanza region, which I was in charge of with the agents, I can tell you that those that are in the portal, we had 3 command centers. We put in a lot of investment as a political party. 1 command center was downloading the original ones. It was being verified by a 2nd command center, a 3rd command center. By the time we're coming out and giving our tallies, our numbers, just as the media houses, it is because we were confident that indeed this is what, this is the real thing. But a question was actually put out to Azimio during their press conference. I think it was one of the commissioners. Yeah. And they were asked, okay, you are disputing these numbers.
Yeah.
Do you have the numbers that you are claiming are the true numbers? And they said, no, they don't have. Why? Because they claim that they were not part of the tallying. Every Kenyan in 2022 was part of the tallying, because all the Form 34As were available to everyone in the world. So when you say we were not part of the tallying, what you're actually trying to say is we did not take responsibility enough as a political party to just tally, just as all these other statisticians and media houses were taking the original Form 34A and tallying. That means, and I keep saying, the downfall of this competition of Azimio, of Raila Odinga and how he lost the 2022 election is because he never really took the agent system serious, because the agent is the guy who brings you the carbon copy of the Form 34A, and the agent is the one who can tell you, hey, listen, my carbon copy, which I took a picture of, which I gave you to the political party, when I go into the IEBC system, I've seen they've uploaded something else. Then you have a starting point to present a case. So that's, for me, I'm actually curious to see what the petition is going to entail, because what we know is you can talk about Form 34B, you can talk about Form 34C, but the ultimate and the decision maker of this election, and this precedent has been set by the last annulment of the presidential election, is the Form 34A. And for as long as you cannot peg your case to the Form 34As, it's dead on arrival.
Let's talk politics. I want to believe that there is a Kenya Kwanza agreement in the custody of the Registrar of Political Parties, an agreement that you had with your partners before we went for this election. With the announcement that today 10 independent winners have joined Kenya Kwanza, isn't that going to alter that agreement?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because you see, ours as the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has never been a reactive response to someone else's strategy. You know, we don't react. This was thought through. People were actually complaining that Kenya Kwanza is not a political party. Why were you afraid of forming a political party? Because we knew when it came down to numbers, every political party had to pull their weight to, you know, get their space on the table. And when you look at what has happened now, UDA as an individual political party has pulled its weight. So when you talk about will it interfere with the other political parties? No, because our party leader was smart enough to actually think through this. That's why we never had issues of zoning, for instance. You know, our competitors were really struggling on the last minute when they realized they're not going to have control of either house. And they started this zoning business because they were trying to, you know, garner more seats, and it just became confusion.
But you had negotiated democracy. Some people stepped down.
We did a negotiated democracy, but that was also to ensure that the numbers were kept up. Now, when we have the 10 independent members who came in to join today, and you know, allow me to digress a little bit. While we are organizing, because we still understand whether or not you have won the presidency, you need to have control in the National Assembly, in the Senate, you need to control the Council of Governors, right? You need to at least have majority of the governors there. That's why I'm saying I'm finding it very strange for a person who has been in opposition literally all his life, who understands the strength and the value of opposition, that he is completely distracted with what I would call a dead on arrival court case, that by the time he lifts his head up, you know, to look what has been happening, he would have lost control of the National Assembly, he would have lost control of the Senate, and worst case scenario is that if you don't have control of the National Assembly and the Senate, and even the Council of Governors, you cannot pull your weight there. As an opposition, you are toothless. So when I look at the activities right now, I really truly believe that there are people inside Azimio, that there are people inside the inner circle of Raila Odinga who are actively and intentionally trying to end his political career. And it is not even the competitors, because when you're advising a person that, hey, even while we are pursuing this, look here, we need to take control of the National Assembly, we need to take control of the Senate, so that in the event that this doesn't go our way,
but
we can at least come back to the table.
As a fact.
You know?
So I can't state that as a fact.
No, but this is my opinion. My opinion is, and if anyone it's my opinion.
Fair enough.
If there's anyone out there who actually cares for the political career of Raila Odinga moving forward, they would advise him, yes, follow the justice that you're seeking in terms of the petition and everything. But who the hell is taking care of ensuring that in the event that you end up, which actually he is in opposition technically, for you to have a strong opposition, you need numbers. And while you're in court, independent candidates are being taken over by Kenya Kwanza Alliance. While you're in court
Stanley.
also, you're in court also, you should have been trying to push. And this is something that I think, and maybe this will not sit well with a lot of people, but I think that it's time that actually my party leader, William Ruto, tries to consider the opposition, the Office of the Opposition Act, you know, to try and officiate it, to try and, because any country actually needs an opposition to keep government in check.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Dr.
And
Stanley
that's one of
Karanja,
the things they should have been pursuing.
Dr. Stanley Karanja, you vied as an independent candidate, and I want us to use this example because 10 independent leaders have joined the Kenya Kwanza coalition. I want us to use the example of a county like Meru. Don't you think that will be a betrayal for the voters who chose Kawira Mwangaza because of her ideals and rejected a person like a leader rather like UDA's Mithika Linturi? Don't you think that will be a betrayal to the voter if you cross over and join that other team or whichever team that has won immediately after that election?
I don't think there will be any betrayal. Because for you to become independent, there are reasons why you got to become independent. So there are reasons why you are independent. And particularly, there are several situations which makes you independent. One, from the beginning, you may decide to become independent and sell your situation as independent. Or you may have been in a party, then during nominations or non-nominations, where the main party, did not behave well, then you met the people going to independent. So, like in the situation of Kawira Mwangaza in
Meru County.
There's nothing wrong because they had already ordinated Meru. It was more of the side of Meru, and the politics, sometimes politics becomes very local. So when you see Kawira Mwangaza, and then you see Mithika Linturi, and then see how the play in politics between Kawira Mwangaza, Linturi, and Kiraito Murungi, how was it shaping? You can even remember one time when Azimio had a very big meeting where even by looking at the dress code of Kiraito, sorry to say, but we analyzed everything. You could see Kiraito on the top part, was he yellow down blue or blue yellow, something like that. So it was a mixed reaction. So Meru was confused. So Meru is ready for leadership, and for Kawira Mwangaza, for the people, for the voters. And who did they vote for? They voted more for Kenya Kwanza. So even the voters, majority of the voters, then are happy of their governor to be affiliated with government, in a government in power. And watch the space. When you look at like now you are pinpointing the issues and the governors in Mombasa and Kakamega, the ones that have been delayed. The probability is higher if the swearing in of President-elect, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, what will the people and the voter look for? It's all about politics, about resources. Where will they? They will go to the government. They want also to be in the government. It will be a different situation. It cannot even be called free and fair. It will be in government. Let's push forward. The unfortunate part is Azimio losing while supported by government. That was very unfortunate up to this point. So even the independents who are coming, who are already there, which is the best side to be inclined to? They'll be inclined to any government in power. It's called AGIP. So that is the reality of life, because you need to deliver to your people. What the hell are you gonna be in opposition, yet you are free here? You are not tied by the political parties, which Political Parties Act 2021. It's not holding you when you are independent. So if there is a door open where you can serve your people better, you'll find yourself in government. And right now, as it is, which is government, the government getting into power is Kenya Kwanza government. So you don't need rocket science or a lot of mathematics or decimals or rounding off to be able to get to that.
Would you consider joining Kenya Kwanza yourself?
I'm a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur. I live with government, which is the government in power today.
Okay.
So I think the issue of naming Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, which is the government in power, which is this organization that's gonna serve the country, it's Kenya Kwanza for now, today. So we will find ourselves, and everybody, be it your police, be it your consultant, you live within the realms and be able to support even the manifesto of the ruling party, the ruling government. And that's what I told you, there's what we call AGIP, that government or any government in power. And that's what is called for independent people. By the way, even independent candidates, you can classify them as civil servants. They belong to the government of the day.
Dr.
So
Stanley,
if anything, any government portrays itself to be on the side of the opposition, and it's the one that's now crying wolf, and it's unfortunate for Azimio people, because the mess, which I can be able to explain, because
very briefly,
that's where I was, and that's why if an independent person goes to Kenya Kwanza government today, they will not be blamed. What happened? The mistreatment of the people. Will they wish to go back where you are mistreated?
Which people?
No, the people. There was no elections, particularly in mostly of the Azimio. Check all their partners, how they did it. It was by selection and appointing of the people. I was standing for Governor Nakuru County after doing all the Jubilee, making sure things are running. And then somebody wakes up from somewhere, he gets to another party, he gets somebody from there who had not even legally resigned from the party to join the party that they were giving, using a lot of thrust. And it's very unfortunate. And you know, there's God in heaven, even in politics combined. That's why these things are happening currently. And we need to sober up and be able to provide leadership.
Dr. Stanley, I want to engage you now as a governance expert, not as a politician. Deputy President William Ruto, who's now the president-elect, is currently working with the same government officials who had opposed his bid to the House on the Hill. And by virtue of his capacity now as the president-elect, he is getting access to things like intelligence briefs, like President Uhuru Kenyatta is currently in his position as when he enjoys the temporary incumbency. This is a deputy president who, in his inaugural speech, talked about not revenging. Are we likely to see some heads rolling in the next, once he's already sworn in?
Let's go by the fact that he said himself. He said that he will work with the people of Kenya. When immediately you stop being a politician and you are the president-elect, everybody is yours, including that civil servant who was not behaving. So it is, now he's taking the entire country. So this issue of thinking that it is that person in their seat now, knowing who's their boss. So they need to behave to their new boss. The time will tell how they behave. If they don't behave well, they may find themselves out. But what he said, there is no vengeance. So he's looking forward to work with the appropriate skills that will deliver his manifesto. And this is where, as a politician, when you come again to government, you meet the government the way it's structured, then you work with the government. That's why the president will be changed. Most of the people will not be changed in government. The CSS will be changed, principal secretaries, but the directors in ministries, in state departments, they will not be changed. Governors will be changed, but the directors, the principal officers will not be changed. So the business of the day, and that's what builds continuity and gives government what is called the ongoing concern. It continues even if there is change of guard. So it is you change of guard, have the proper emotional intelligence to be able to know now the people that you have met, they have information. If you come with your thorax, you may lose a lot. So, and which is appropriate what President-elect Dr. William is doing right now. He's saying, we are going to make sure that we work together. I have forgiven anybody who was against me. So that there is what they knew, so that they can be able to take that information and be able to choose what is right and how should we shape it. And that's what's called leadership. So he is delivering what's called highest level of emotional intelligence to be able to stabilize governance and to be able to go on and deliver his promises, because there's no time. Immediately he needs to get into the shoes. He knows all the issues. He has been the deputy president. He knows all the issues. Where he had no intelligence, now he gets it. He uses it. He will use it and get the right set of people, or those that will be there and they are okay. He does not need to replace them unless they prove otherwise and they disobey. Otherwise, all of us, we have a chance to be in this new government. That's the fact. And he has a chance to work with all of us, depending with how will you be going with his dream, the vision to deliver Kenya where he looks at.
Gloria, finally, In Kenya, historically, we are known to be politicking for every 5 years. In fact, every election cycle, we never take a break. Does the Kenya Kwanza have a strategy to ensure that we set aside politics so that development takes the center stage?
You know, that depends. If to you politics is just rallies, then for sure you need a break from politics. But for the Kenya Kwanza government, politics is life. The reason why we have issues with our economy is because of a lot of political structures, political goodwill, political events. And so you can't say we're going to take a break from politics. If anything, because we have introduced and we are going to sustain the politics of issues, we are not going to take a break from politics, because we are going to be dealing with issues from the beginning until the end, until the next election cycle. So in terms of taking a break from politics...
When I say taking a break, and you know, you and I both know that probably after, if the deputy president, who is the president-elect, is sworn in, of course there are people who are going to start thinking about succession politics, and of course his team thinking about managing his second term, if he will get that, and that is what I mean by that. And that has really cost Kenyans.
And I'm still addressing that, because even in that context, you are sworn in as the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. Okay. And of course you have ambitions to get in the second term. And the only way that you know you're going to get in is because, for one, you have been pushing the politics of issues and, you know, promising things with your manifesto. The only way to get elected and have the succession politics is for you to deliver on those issues. And so for me, I think if you say take a break from politics, it's almost like you're saying those promises and things, because they need political goodwill, political structure, even just today when we had what you would call the PG for UD, for Kenya Kwanza, that is a political formation that is ensuring that the agenda the Kenya Kwanza has is going to be pushed. So I don't think it is wise. What we should say is that the politics that this country needs to take is the politics of issues. And as long as we are on the politics of issues, we are not taking a break from politics. Allow me to say one thing that really I wanted to put out in terms of structure.
Because of time.
You were asking, you know, William Ruto is taking over, you know, a structure that, you know, was against him or whatever. But what we've been pushing for at Kenya Kwanza is independence of institutions. And there was a report that came out today for the National Police Service, and it was basically an update on the 2 incidents of the political security incidents. The first one was the 53-year-old returning officer who unfortunately lost his life. And they put an update on that, and the investigations and, you know, whatever is ongoing. And the second one was the fracas that ensued at Bomas during the declaration of the 5th President, William Ruto. And I want to say this, on independence of institutions, what happened in Bomas, because I was there, because I witnessed, I'm telling you what happened in Bomas cannot be investigated by the National Police Service, because we had a situation where members of the IEBC were actually being attacked in the presence and in the witness of the police. So for me, if you ask me, I would like that we pursue or that we push as active Kenyans that IPOA steps in, because some of those police men had been compromised. And if we are going to take the independence of the institution seriously, then we need to start by, first of all, acknowledging that we had a few rogue people, and that should actually be addressed, because in order for the next election to be smooth and for someone to understand that you cannot, it doesn't matter what kind of a politician you are, you cannot walk up during a very sensitive matter like Oledama Lekina did and try to address, you know, and you're not an IEBC official. You cannot attack IEBC officials, whether or not you are a governor, because there were governors on stage attacking IEBC officials.
All right.
So,
thank you.
Independence of institutions must be taken seriously, and the National Police Service should consider actually bringing in IPOA on that investigation.
Thank you very much for that. And of course, the media will hold you to account to that on the independence
as usual,
of
as
institutions.
Always. Yes.
I can assure you that. Well, thank you very much, Gloria Orwoba, youth policy analyst, as well as Dr. Stanley Karanja, governance expert. We're talking about the Supreme Decision events that have taken center stage in as far as our politics in the country is concerned. Thank you so much, viewers, as well, for watching. This has been News Tonight on the 17th day of August 2022. On behalf of everyone who has made this a success, thank you so much for watching. My name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Catherine Siboloi. Good night. God bless.